Hey everyone, thanks for joining me for today's video. Vanilla, you either love it or you don't. Where do you stand? Are you a vanilla lover or did you just click into the video to hang out with me and the other viewers of this channel? If so, that is fine too. Welcome. I can't say that I've always been obsessed with vanilla. In fact, there was a point in time when I wondered, why is everybody into vanilla fragrances? I'm not sure I quite understand. I've always liked some vanillas, and I don't know why. I don't know how to explain to you what happened, but somewhere in the early fall into winter of this year, I became obsessed with vanillas. I don't know what happened. I don't know what happened, but I have an entire shelf dedicated to vanilla fragrances and a few others sort of sprinkled throughout, and I'm obsessed with looking them up and have to stop myself from adding and adding and adding to the collection. So what I want to do is share with you. Let me back up. I couldn't let winter pass, right? I couldn't let us go into the warmth of spring, which is already starting to happen here in Central Virginia, without talking about the vanillas that I have come to really, really enjoy and love. I think of vanilla for the most part as being a cold weather scent, a cold weather note, but that's not necessarily true. You can wear vanillas all throughout the year. But anyway, that's why I feel like I have to hurry up and get these videos out while it's still cold in certain parts of the Northern Hemisphere. And if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, get your list ready and check some of these out for your upcoming winter. In this video, we'll call this part one. I'm going to be talking about fragrances that are vanilla forward. In other words, vanilla is a prominent note or chord. You can't mistake that it's a vanilla fragrance. And I'll focus in this video on fragrances that I find to be particularly alluring. And I'll just share, I have a lot, so I had to cull this down. I'm going to put roughly 15 in this video, and then I'm going to do another video on vanilla fragrances that are a little bit more subtle, cozy, day-to-day types of vanillas. Okay, let's get to it. I got some beauties to share with y'all today. I feel like Steve Harvey in Family Feud when he's like, I got a good one for y'all today. I got a good one for y'all today. Let's get to it. Let's start off with perhaps one of the most alluring, like in the sexy sense, vanilla fragrances, I wouldn't say of all time, of recent times, none other than Christian Dior's Addict. Yes, y'all, before we get into all the details, okay, there was a reformulation. The older formulation was stronger. Blah, blah, blah. Okay, we got that out of the way. So don't let that scare you from the newer formulation. I find this bottle to be nearly as beautiful as the older one. So much so that it's hard to tell the difference, except maybe this isn't quite as deep and strong as the other one. Regardless, this is such a luscious, deep, sexy, alluring. How many times are we going to say the word alluring and vanilla in this video? Fragrance. This is a killer date night fragrance. I joked around in other videos also about how I have been told that I smell expensive when I wear this fragrance. You know how I feel about talking about a fragrance smells expensive. This one smells expensive though. I've worn it out, especially on really cold evenings is when this shines the most, and have been told on different days that I've worn this that I smell rich, I smell expensive, I smell classy. This is not for everyone. This is a rather particular fragrance. It's heavy vanilla and tonka bean, and it has jasmine and some green notes in there and a little touch of powder. But by and large, it's a very sweet, like rich, decadent kind of fragrance with that floral in there as well. And it is a very mature fragrance. I mean, this is like a powerhouse. I am woman, hear me roar. I'm bringing all of my feminine wiles scent. Okay, so beautiful for date night, beautiful for special occasion. The bottle gives you a sense of when you'd wear it. I think it's more a nighttime fragrance if you want to classify things that way than daytime. Of course, I've worn it during the day, but fantastic for those elegant affairs where you want to smell really beautiful and rich and deep and luscious. Dior Addict. An alluring vanilla that is definitely peculiar, but has absolute sex appeal. You'll have to hear me out. You know, sometimes I have these bizarre sort of ways of describing fragrances. I can't help it. It's the way that the way that I perceive the scent. But just because I describe it as bizarre doesn't mean that I don't think it's appealing or that I don't like it. Just wanted to clear that up because on some other videos I've shared, this smells really strange. It smells like fill in the blank odd thing, and people assume that means I don't like it. Not at all. Aura Mugler. This is the Eau de Parfum concentration. The Eau de Toilette is a little bit different. It's lighter, it's airier, it's more green to me. This Eau de Parfum concentration has a real powderiness and a creaminess to it that I think is missing in the EDT version. Definitely vanilla, of course, but it has a greenness to it. And the way that I describe this fragrance, like forget what the notes say on Fragrantica, Parfumo, wherever else you're looking. This fragrance very much smells to me like Pepto-Bismol. So that's what I mean. Like I'm going to tell you that, and someone in the audience is going to go, ew, why would you want to smell like Pepto-Bismol? But it absolutely works, and I really, really like it. As a kid, I really liked the smell of Pepto-Bismol. Did you? In fact, I remember going to the fridge and smelling it because it smelled like candy to me, and I didn't mind taking it when I needed to take it as a kid. I don't have a bottle in my house or anything now, but I have fond memories of the pink fluid. But so imagine Pepto-Bismol with touches of greenness, with touches of creaminess, probably from the ylang-ylang that's in here, vanilla. It's delightful and it's alluringly sexy and different. You're going to smell very different when you have this on. Like with Dior Addict, people who are familiar with this fragrance will know you have it on. Very few people know what this smells like, and very few people can pick this out of a crowd, probably because it's not a mass appealing fragrance. And I'm okay with that. I do enjoy the bottle of this. I have joked around in the past about how this looks like Angelina Jolie in Maleficent. It looks like the bustier with maybe shoulder pads popping up, or it looks like the crown. And I think that's super cool. I sometimes get tired of fragrances that have to lie on their side, but I forgive this one because it is so interesting and different, and the fragrance is really quite fabulous. So if you have not gotten your nose on this and you want to smell a little bit different and you don't mind a fragrance that's a little bit adventurous, check out Aura EDP. It is the one and only. A vanilla that is newer to my collection that I sampled and thought was just okay, and then saw on sale, lost my mind and ordered it. And I'm so glad that I did, because it's another one of those that when I tried it on, I understood the magic of it. Magic's a little crazy. Let's not overhype things. I do overhype things sometimes. It's hard not to do when you like something. Let me not get too crazy about it. It is a really nice, sexy, subtle vanilla. This one, I couldn't put it in the subtle one because it has that like alluring sexiness thing, undeniably, like a little bit on the animalic side. So I couldn't really put it in like an everyday sort of video. You can't be walking around here smelling a little bit, hedonistic, carnal, and saying that you smell like an everyday fragrance. Those two things don't work together. Let me show you what I'm talking about. And it's been making the rounds a little bit here into the winter, maybe a little bit hyped up, granted, but I like it. And it's Absolute Aphrodisiac by Initio. Wow, what a really nice vanilla that sits very well on your skin. A warm, warm vanilla that has a little bit of that animal touch to it. There's a leather note and a castoreum note. Castoreum smells often like leather in fragrances, like maybe a little bit of a dirty leather. Yeah, you can get it from the the atomizer there. Definitely smells a little bit on the animal end. And I'm not talking about like urine territory. I'm talking about leather that's a little bit dirty. Have you ever had, how do I explain this? Have you ever been close to someone who's finished playing a sports game? They don't stink, but they definitely have a little bit of that natural body odor thing going on. And I'm not talking about sweat. I'm having a hard time explaining this, but anyway, y'all. A little bit like the smell after you are intimate with someone, like that. So vanilla, a little bit of that, just a little bit, you all. I'm not saying you're going to be out here smelling like dirty sheets. I didn't mean that. I mean, you're going to have a little touch, like just enough for someone to go, that's interesting. And it has some leather in it. So musky fragrance too. Warms up really beautifully on the skin. So you have to be into those sultry vanillas to appreciate this one. Some people have tried this and just not seen what all the hype was about. They just don't get it. And that's okay. Y'all, you don't have to love everything that I tell you about, and I don't have to love everything that you tell me about. We're just here to share our experiences with fragrance and present you all with options that you can look into if you're looking for a particular scent type. The next one maybe isn't sexy alluring. It's alluring in the sense that it evokes some memories for you, and it really needs no introductions or explanation of what it smells like. But just in case you're not familiar with this fragrance, Maison Margiela by the Fireplace, a fragrance that I admit I had to become accustomed to when I first tried it. I was like, why do people want to smell like a campfire? Now, the thing about it is that campfire aspect of this fragrance. So people talk about, oh, it smells like you're sitting on a campfire. It smells like you're roasting marshmallows. All of that is true, but that part is temporary in my opinion. I would say somewhere in like the hour to hour and a half range or so, this really becomes a vanilla fragrance, like a nice sweet vanilla on your skin with some touches of woodiness, some touches of a nutty accord. I think it's chestnut that's in here, and some touches of, did I say woodiness? I think I said woodiness already. Oh, spices. That's the one I forgot. I think there's something a little bit spicy in here, but that's not prominent. What's really prominent is the vanilla. So this is vanilla through and through. Yes, the opening is a little bit smoky, not overpoweringly so. Yes, you get that sort of campfire feel from this, or if you have sat by a wood burning fireplace, same difference. But then it becomes a really cozy, lovely, dark, deep vanilla as it progresses on the skin. So give this one a try. And if you have tried it and didn't like it, try it again. But try it again with vanilla in mind versus smoke and see what happens to your perceptions as it dries down. The next one is Alluring because maybe it has a touch of sexiness, but I think more than anything, it comes across as sophisticated. I worked off of a dupe of this called Retro Flare Gold, if I remember the name correctly, from Alexandria Fragrances, and really loved it so much that I wanted to spring for the real thing and finally did. And it's Gentle Fluidity Gold from Maison Francis Kirkdjian. Yes, I have the new one, I guess, in the purple fluid. There's all this debate about this. Oh my God, it's reformulated. The purple one is not as strong and it's weak. Y'all, I cannot keep up with the reformulation discussions. I just can't. It's like it's overwhelming. I get drowned in all of that, and it just becomes this really negative discussion. And I'm like, do you enjoy the fragrance or do you not? Anyway, so I enjoy this, is the answer to the question that I just asked. I have smelled whatever the other version was, and to be honest with you, I don't detect that much of a difference. If you do, feel free to leave it in the comments. We can always chat about it politely in the comments. I love that this fragrance smells like just sophistication. Sophistication, if that could be personified through a fragrance, here you go. Vanilla, a little bit of a juniper berry that gives it just this like sprightly touch, and some nice spices, an ambery fragrance. It's a very warm fragrance, but at the same time has this clean sophistication about it that you don't normally find in fragrances that have a strong amber in them. So anyway, this fragrance is, well, the dupe of it anyway, I have actually worn to business meetings. Shocker, because I normally don't. I usually go for like soft skin scents, but there's something so elegant about this, yet not imposing. I mean, you can wear a lot of this and people can be in a close scent bubble with you and still be okay. You're not going to be choking people out, overwhelming the room and all of that. At the same time, this is a great day to night fragrance, would be really nice for a dinner occasion where you want it to smell classy, sophisticated, and not draw a lot of attention to yourself, but there's that allure because you smell so elegant. You smell so elegant with this on. So really glad to have this. I still think the dupe is fabulous and would still say check that out. And by the way, there's dupes for most of the fragrances, some of the fragrances, a few of the fragrances that I'm talking about today. So if you're interested in more affordable versions, just Google the fragrance that you're looking for and look up inspired by as your keywords along with the fragrance name, or dupe of, or copy of, or imitation of. But usually start with inspired by, because then the websites that have them will show up for you. Okay, let's keep going. A fragrance that a lot of people don't know about, maybe deserves a little bit more shine, is Vanille by Franck Boclet. This is very much a traditional vanilla fragrance, and what makes it a little bit different is that it has a distinct citrus at the top, and I would say maybe goes through some of the mid of the fragrance, and then you get a caramel that becomes a little bit more pronounced in the mid or heart notes of this. But by and large, you get like a spicy vanilla. So I thought that this is what Ani by Nishane would smell like, and I have that fragrance, and I could have included it in this video, but it didn't make either list. Not because I don't like it, it's more because I like other vanillas more, including this one. So Ani is like really up in your face with the spicy aspects. The spices in here are a lot more subtle and subdued. So this is that kind of fragrance that draws people in a little bit closer, is going to have people coming and snuggling in your neck to see what you smell like. Really beautiful burst in the opening, like I said, of citrus. And then you get a sweet caramelly vanilla with some spices, and it's pretty long lasting and you know, affordable is relative. So you can find this under $100 on discounter sites online. So again, just type in Google and the name of the fragrance, Franck Boclet Vanille. Hidden gem, maybe? Hidden gem. One of the coolest bottles in my collection, and definitely one that men are attracted to, and it is Libre Intense. I was going to say Le Parfum, which I have tried and is also quite beautiful, but I have the EDP Intense. I really think this is an interesting bottle. There's a cutout there that you don't usually see in fragrances, and then the wraparound sort of jewelry that says YSL. Anyway, we're not here to talk about bottles, but I do like a nice bottle, and this one looks pretty on the shelves. Absolutely a deep vanilla. This one is sexy, like sexy, sexy. Deep vanilla with some lavender touches, a lot of sweetness to it. And it also has white florals and an orange blossom that gives it a little touch of fluffiness. I wouldn't call it fluffy like, you know, Love Don't Be Shy, not like that, but a little touch of lightness in it. I didn't love Libre, the original. I don't know, there was something about that fragrance that just didn't sit right with me, but this one has the sweetness and the sophistication and the maturity that I was looking for in that first fragrance. Not that that one doesn't have that. It smells really fantastic on some people. It just kind of didn't work for me. Anyway, the more that this sits, the better that it gets and the stronger that it gets. It's one that I have to be careful with spraying because I do go a little bit nose blind to this probably a few hours in, but it's still going and going and going and going, and people can smell it on me everywhere. So I have to be careful about not overspraying and really just enjoying this fragrance at a subtle level. So definitely in the sexy category. So talking about sophisticated fragrances like Gentle Fluidity Gold, I have to include one that I've talked about a lot recently, so I thought about maybe skipping it for this video, but it's really nice, at least to me. And I know a lot of viewers really love this. Some of you cannot tolerate this. It doesn't smell good to you. So, you know, thanks for leaving your notes in the comments. I think it's really helpful for other viewers who see there is a variety of opinions on a fragrance, and they can maybe start to make some decisions about whether they want to try it or not if they haven't already. I think this is an absolute winner, one of the most sophisticated fragrances in my collection. I didn't feature Tocade from Roches in this video or in the other one because I've given that one a lot of shine too, but that one is kind of the same level of sophistication for me. What I really love about this, it's super classy. It's very much a prominent vanilla, but it has a bay leaf and a pepper that runs through it, a pink pepper that runs through it, that makes it a little bit aromatic in addition to being vanillic and a little sweet and a hint of powder, maybe more than a hint, maybe several hints, maybe several hints of powder in this fragrance, but I wouldn't call it a powdery fragrance. I see this, you know, as something that you might wear when you want to feel really put together and elegant and warm, yet sort of structured. Really neat fragrance and fairly affordable. If you look on discount sites, you might be able to find this for under $50. I think I got this in the neighborhood of 30, and it's really freaking good. Lasting power is not that great. Okay, so you're gonna get a few hours, maybe up to 4-ish hours, maybe 5, you know, depending on how you moisturize and the weather and all of those fun things. You know, it's not the longest lasting, farthest projecting fragrance, but gosh, worth every penny that you pay for it, especially at the discount. Then a fragrance that is in this alluring video because it's so interesting as to be alluring, not necessarily because it's sexy, although maybe somebody smells sexy wearing this, I don't know. It is Tom Ford's Metallique, a fragrance that I didn't think I wanted, and then I sampled on skin and really fell in love with. And when this runs out, I will likely consider getting a bigger bottle or maybe just another smaller bottle. I mean, do we need big bottles of everything? No, we don't. I don't even know why I said that. What is alluring about this fragrance? It's unique. I don't have anything else in my collection that smells quite like this. I think I've heard other reviewers talk about a fragrance somewhere that smells in the same neighborhood, and I haven't smelled that. So I can't speak to that. I have personally not smelled anything like this at all. Vanilla, like a soft, smooth, light vanilla, aldehyde. So you get a very sort of clean smell. There is a metallic nature to this in the way that I always talk about, you know, when you hold onto a railing, a metal railing in the summer and it's hot and you get the reaction of the sweat of your palm with the metal. There's a little hint of that in here. However, it doesn't come across like an annoying or distracting metallic note like you might get in some other fragrances where it's off-putting. And here, somehow it all works together. So for the most part, I'm getting a clean, Laundry-esque, not like a hand soap. I'm talking about like a really nice laundry detergent or dryer sheet, clean dryer sheet smell, not the dryer sheet after you've run it through the dryer, not that one. How it smells when you first take it out of the box. Gain in particular. Could we say Gain? Maybe type Gain. I'm gonna stick with Gain. And a beautiful, light, fluffy vanilla, little touch of powderiness to this. Really, really quite a sophisticated fragrance in my mind. And again, not the super longest lasting, but you get at least a half a day, a little bit more, maybe 6-ish hours. And I'm good with that. Really good. Another alluring fragrance that sits squarely in that sexy category, maybe sexy and comforting together, which is particularly interesting about this fragrance. It's Mon Guerlain Intense. Wow. Wow. Can we talk about this? This is, I would say, like a sweet vanilla with lavender, some patchouli, some purpleness to it. Okay, there's an iris note in the fragrance that gives it a hint of coldness in the background. Somehow it all works together. Definitely an alluring fragrance in the sense that this is the kind of fragrance that a person would wear and you want to hug them to get a little bit more of it. Warms up beautifully on the skin. In some ways, some people might consider this a bit of a matronly scent. I don't think it smells particularly mature, but I do get that sort of mom hug feel from it, you know, like that, or auntie hug, you know, like when you were young and you embrace the older women in your family and they had a beautiful smell that had developed on their skin from an elegant perfume. It reminds me a little bit of that. So some people have asked, what's the comparison between the Intense and the original Mon Guerlain? Well, there's an EDP and an EDT version of the original, so there's, you know, questions about the differences between those two. But by and large, this is a sweeter, deeper, richer fragrance that might be more appropriate for evening affairs, where maybe you consider the other two Mon Guerlains to be more of daytime fragrances. You know, wear whatever you want, whenever you want, wherever you want, for whatever you want, of course. But yeah, more of like a date night type of a situation. Very alluring and sexy, but in a motherly way. One that's newer to my collection, but that I've taken a huge, huge liking to. It's from Merchant of Venice. This is Andalusian Soul. Are we supposed to keep these on or not? What do y'all think? I don't think it matters. I mean, it's your bottle, do what you want. But have you ever seen people walking around with labels on their clothing that you know they were supposed to take off, like a coat, and they've got the label sort of under the arm? Or I'm wondering if this is that kind of situation, or I don't see a way to take it off. I digress. This is supposed to be an ambery vanilla with boozy notes and an aromatic touch. So let me just get to what I think this smells like. It smells like a really beautiful, fresh Play-Doh. If you played with Play-Doh as a kid, you know what I'm saying. You were really excited to just, at least I was, to pull the top back on the Play-Doh jar and smell it fresh. We're not talking about any old dried out, nasty, crusty, dusty Play-Doh. We're talking about the fresh Play-Doh where you felt special because you got a brand new pack. That is what this smells like to me. And as it settles down, it does get warm and enveloping and beautiful. But the opening gives me fresh, beautiful Play-Doh. I like it. I think it smells great. But this, in the end, becomes this sort of cozy, really alluring fragrance that makes you want to come in close for a hug. It's just all enveloping, like cocooning. Maybe it should have been in the other video. I don't know, but I have it here because I do think this is a fragrance I would wear if I wanted to be in my feminine feels for the evening and wanted to have something a little bit more subtle for date night. Very pretty fragrance. Another confident, sexy vanilla that isn't talked about enough, Tangier Vanille from Aerin. I'd like to try the Dior version. So a few of you spoke about that in a recent video. I'd love to hear what you think the differences are between the two fragrances. This is a little bit unique in my collection in that it's vanilla plus amber plus sandalwood, and it's lightened up just ever so slightly, right? Like it's not a super deep, dark fragrance. It's lightened up in a playful way by some citrusy aspects that are subtle. They really are just there to add hints of playfulness rather than to shine as an actor in the cast, if you will. I mean, it has some depth to it. It's not a light, airy vanilla by any means, so I'm not saying that. It definitely has presence and depth, but doesn't get super serious because of the addition of those other notes that I mentioned, and a hint of a floral in there as well. That there's a musky aspect to this that makes it almost like a second skin of glorious femininity. Really interesting fragrance, worth checking out if you're in a department store. I don't know if you can get samples of this anywhere, so it would have to be one that you would sniff in store, or if you're near a cosmetics company store, they might sell it. I believe that's where I got mine, if I remember correctly. I have two more and an honorable mention, only because I don't have the honorable mention in hand. I'd like to share next Lince. Lince. Oh my God, I have forgotten how to say it. I'll be right back. Yes, y'all, Google told me it's Lince. And a viewer told me that that means links in Italian. So this is Tiziana Terenzi. And this is everything that I had wished Hypnotic Poison was. So I had the EDT of that, of Hypnotic Poison, and I ended up selling it. Enjoyed it, but I wanted something more, something deeper. And I couldn't get my hands on the EDP version of Hypnotic Poison. And again, when we talk about reformulation, goodness gracious, that one goes through the ringer for the reformulation hits that it has taken over the years. Maybe try this if you want something in that vein. They're not identical, but it gives you that same vibe, this beautiful, powdery, vanillic dream of a fragrance. I forget some of the notes that are in here, so I wanted to look it up and be sure to mention them. Absinthe, like the which you use in drinks, star anise, green tea, and also some citrus notes. I won't go through all of them, but I found that those notes were particularly interesting. I wanted to mention that because you definitely get hints of all of that in here. But by and large, it's a beautiful, bright vanilla with a nice powderiness to it. Again, like I said, it scratches the Hypnotic Poison itch without me having to hunt down an EDP version of that. It smells really good on. Husband loves this. Powerhouse fragrance, projects far, lasts long. Love it. So I didn't rank order these, but I did save maybe my favorite for last. And maybe it's my favorite because it's newer to the collection. So it's that shiny new coin, shiny new penny that I want to pay attention to more than the others. Before I talk about that, I do have a strong interest in Amouage material. I sampled it. I talked about it in my, buy or pass opinions on hyped fragrances video, volume 6. Check that out. I'll be happy to link that below for you. I likened this fragrance material to a luxurious soap. And a lot of people don't understand what I meant. I'm not talking about like aldehydic soap. I'm talking about a luxury soap that has a strong vanillic base, maybe some other deeper notes like some ambery or sandalwoody kinds of notes in it, and maybe even some spices. We're not just talking about like clean aldehydic, Dial, Dove, whatever kind of soaps, Irish Spring. There are luxury soaps, so it reminds me of just like a creamy, luxurious soap that is meant to serve as a base for other deeper fragrances. Beautiful ambery vanilla fragrance that does have some spiciness and some touches of incense and so forth, but I'm interested in that fragrance. I'm trying to resist purchasing it, and I will share here if I was able to resist or not by the time I post this video. Obviously, I don't have it in hand to show you, but I think that's notable here for the alluring category. It's one that stately, has a lot of presence, and would probably draw people to you just out of sheer interest. So I want to end with perhaps one of the sexiest vanillas that I have, even more so than some of the highly feminine fragrances that I mentioned, like Mon Guerlain Intense and Libre Intense and all of those. Let me put you on, if you're not familiar, to Vanille Fatale from Tom Ford. I had a dupe of this, Fatale Vanille from Alexandria Fragrances that I was working off of for a while. Really, really enjoyed wearing that, found that alluring and interesting. They're nearly identical. This one is even a little bit spicier and deeper than that one, but in the air, really difficult to tell the difference. So if you're looking for a dupe, try that. But let me tell you, I unboxed this when it first came home and let my husband smell it. And he immediately was like, oh yeah, that is good. So it's a boozy vanilla with a lot of notes, including tobacco. It has some suede in there. It has some spices. It has some resins. It has a touch of floral. It has like everything under the sun, but mostly I get a really warm, deep, sexy, spicy vanilla with some touches of booziness. So almost like intoxicating. I'll warn you that this does calm down on the skin fairly quickly, so it's not a super projecting fragrance. It's one that you have to come in close to the skin to sniff. But when you do that, Oof. If you like warm, deep, resinous vanillas, this might be one to check out. Look, I applied this and I couldn't stop sniffing myself. And my husband applied a little bit and he couldn't stop sniffing himself. So this is definitely a winner. My only regret is getting this little bottle, but I'm trying to be better, y'all. And if things come in 30 ml bottles or 1.7 ounce 50 mils, I try to grab those. So let me know your thoughts on this list of 15 alluring vanillas. I would say, did I leave anything out? But I can't say that because I scoured my collection for my top 15, but would love to hear if there are some in your collection that maybe I don't have that you think are worthy of mentioning as a very alluring vanilla fragrance. Share with our friends down in the comments so that we can all enjoy your recommendations together. Thank you so much. I'm going to go wash this makeup off and get myself in the bed because mama's tired. Have a blessed one. Take care. See you next time.